coming back. You've been here before. We're so happy you're back. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Leslie. My name is Paul, and I'm an alcoholic, and it's so good to be here, and it's good to be sober. And I want to thank the group for giving me the opportunity to do service here today. It's a great privilege and honor to be asked to speak at a meeting today, and one I don't take lightly. And we are not a glum lot. That's certainly true. I just reached out to America's Got Talent and said, we've got an alcoholic choir here that you've got a book for your show. You guys are just wonderful. Everybody's singing out of key. I couldn't have it any better myself. And I'm coming to you from Rockaway Beach, New York City, a very snowy Rockaway Beach, cold and frigid. I wouldn't mind being in Barcelona, walking on the beach, maybe go to the new camp and watch a soccer game. But it's so good to be here and see some dear friends from both sides of the Atlantic here today. And remember what we said before the meeting, this is a sign for laughter and this is a sign for applause, just so you know, we know what we're doing. And it's so good to be here. And that's good. I like Zoom meetings myself. I remember when all the meetings in New York City first closed down and the Zoom meetings started during COVID, and I'm like, this is not AA. I got to be sitting knee to knee with another alcoholic. I got to see an alcoholic with skin on. Oh my God. Once again, ignore first thought, move directly to second thought, because Zoom has been a game changer for me. The amount of people I've gotten to meet in the last 5 or 6 years, the amount of opportunity I've got to do service in the last 5 or 6 years. I mean, I'm an alcoholic. It doesn't have to be either or. It can be yes and. Yes, Zoom meetings are good, and bricks and mortar is good too. They can both live together happily in the spiritual world of Alcoholics Anonymous. And I remember my youngest daughter's 8 years of age, and I know what you're thinking. I don't look old enough to have an 8-year-old daughter. And in fact, when my wife told me she was pregnant, the first diaper she had to change was mine, you know? And so when she was 2 years of age during Zoom, she was a real Zoom bomber. So I'd be in my car a lot doing meetings. In fact, the guy said to me, Paul, you're sober for a while. Are you back living in your car? I'm like, no, but you know, we do what we have to do to stay sober here today. And I'm not here to, I just love that. And the people I don't know. I mean, A is the only place in the world that you can walk into a room full of strangers and start reminiscing. You're my people. I mightn't have drank with you, but when you tell me you're an alcoholic, I know enough. I don't need to know any more of your backstory. I don't need, when you tell me you're an alcoholic, I know you've experienced terror, frustration, bewilderment, despair. I know those hideous horsemen have visited you on a regular basis. I know that you've experienced pitiful, incomprehensible demoralization. I don't need to know anything more, and we're so connected together. And if you're new here today, I want to welcome you to Alcoholics Anonymous. I'm not here to sell it, it sells itself. This is attraction, not promotion. But I will tell you this. I don't mean cash and prizes. You cannot get where I'm sitting today from where I came from without Alcoholics Anonymous. It's an impossible journey. And why do I continue to come to AA? I know how the movie goes, but I wouldn't miss it. To see someone coming into AA, one of our newcomers today, on the worst night of their life, and be given the grace not to drink. And AA is so much more than grace. It's mercy. And the definition of mercy I like the best is entering into the chaos of another person's life. And that's what AA did for me back in August of 1992. When the few people left in my life was going that way, the only people coming this way was Alcoholics Anonymous. And they carried this message. My message mightn't even keep me sober. And if you're new here today, what is the message that we talk about in AA? When complete defeat through alcohol, our step one tells us that I have a body that won't let me drink, and a mind that won't let me stop. That one drink with the thirst I can't quench. That when I control my drinking, I don't enjoy it. When I enjoy my drinking, I can't control it. With your help, and I say this is a testament to AA, with your help, I haven't had a drink since August of 92. One drink today, not 5, not 10, destination unknown. And that's what showed up here. And these beautiful people with this beautiful program brought me to a place of powerlessness and manageability, not to a place where I'm powerful, but a place where I've access to power. That I'm sitting here on a Monday afternoon in a chilly New York City winter's day. My life's not perfect. You're looking for a perfect life, maybe some other. My life is far from perfect. But here's the good news. Now that I'm an Alcoholics Anonymous, I'm sitting here today, and I used to, a little bit Clancy used to say, I'm sitting here today, and I'm safe, and I'm sane, and I'm sober. Once again, you put one drink in me, not 5 or 10. I'm not safe, I'm not sane, and I'm certainly not sober. But I'm sitting here today, and if you're new here today and things are going on around you, don't worry. I love the old timers that told me in A, Paul, we're not going to tell you your life's going to get better, but you will get better. If I'm waiting for the outside things to get better before I get better, I might be in for a long wait. And it doesn't matter how long you're around AA. I got some dear friends here, and we're all going through things. The ups and downs of a sober life. That's the spiritual journey. I thought if I come into AA and ate my AA vegetables and I was a good boy in AA, everything would be okay. Well, everything is okay, but situations happen. I'm reminded there's an English mystic, and 1,000 years ago, which is a long time ago, she said, all is well and all will be well. And if you're here today and you're an Alcoholics Anonymous, let me tell you from the bottom of my heart, now that you have found AA or AA has found you, all is well and all will be well. And if you're here in AA, if you are lucky enough to get to AA, I'm lucky enough. And I look back at my life, I like that Richard Rory talks about life is lived forward and understood backwards. And I look back at my drinking life, and I look where I'm sitting today, safe and sane, and I'm sober. And if you're new here today, I often worry like, oh, what should I talk? You know, the ego gets, what should I say? And I always remember my sponsor says, think of the newcomer. Talk with the newcomer. And you will never go wrong at a meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous. Because we need you. You are I mean, there's a body of water in the world, and it's called the Dead Sea because it doesn't get fresh water. The new people in AA are the fresh water. If we don't get the fresh water, AA becomes stagnant, and nothing grows in stagnant water. So thank you for being here today. And don't think because you're new, you've got nothing to offer AA. We work on the premise that the whole is greater than the sum of the parts, and everybody's got worth and value, and we can all help each other. If Bill Wilson had waited until he was sober a year before he helped another alcoholic, we'd all be dead today. But he didn't. He went straight to work. So I want to welcome you. Come on, come all the way in and sit all the way down. We talk about the different steps in AA, this step, that step, the other step. You know, the hardest step in AA is the doorstep. And why do we start? The warm welcome that I was given here today at a Zoom meeting, why do we stand at the door? I'm in New York City and not too far from Calvary Church, where they used to have early AA meetings and Oxford group meetings. And there was a person there, Reverend Sam Shoemaker. And he wrote this beautiful poem, Why He Stood at the Door. And why do we stand at the door? To reach out into the darkness and take that trembling hand of the new person and help them over the hardest step, the doorstep into AA. And why do we tell our stories? For me to talk about me? No, to show the new people our way of life. And we all hear, that's what connects us. I used to hear that, oh, I don't want to go into a drunkalog. I don't want to go into the crash bag. I don't understand that. We're a storytelling community. We're a storytelling society. Like Leslie said, what connects us? What I used to misquote that line for years. What it was like, what happened, and what it's like. It doesn't say that. It says what we were like, what happened, and what we're like today. Ernie Gertzen wrote a book about AA. He likened it to a campfire. We sit round the AA campfire and we tell our stories. And that's what connects us. And that's what we say to the new people here. Come up, sit by the fire and tell us your story. And my story, why am I an alcoholic? Was it nature? Was it nurture? Was I born an alcoholic? Did I become an alcoholic? What came first, the chicken or the keg? A lot of guys that got drunk trying to figure that out. I realize today that acceptance is the answer. I have no idea why I'm an alcoholic, and I could care less. I love what our book says. We cannot answer the riddle. It's above my pay grade. Acceptance is the answer. And when you think about it, I found that out when it is a funny place. They don't tell you 100 different things one time. They tell you 3 or 4 things 100 times over. And I found out when I got to AA, really, what is the central fact of my life today? And it's been since I got here. And that is that my name is Paul and I am an alcoholic. That's the central fact of my life, because that statement tells me who I am, it tells me what I am, and it tells me where I am. And I got some dear friends on here. They know outside of that, I've got a lot of things going on. There's a lot of things happening. But if I stay right in the middle of AA and make that the central fact of my life, that my name is Paul and I'm an alcoholic, not to repeat myself, all is well and all will be well. So I wish you on your journey. Now, if I was to speculate, I heard people tell different stories, this story, that story. All I have is my story. Now, I know this may come as a shock to some people here tonight, but I'm not from the neighborhood originally. It's been many years now since I left my native Cuba. Just joking. It's sort of hard to tell jokes on Zoom. It's like telling jokes in the graveyard at midnight. You're not really sure if anybody's laughing. I'm from the same area as Francie and Collie, little place called Northern Ireland. I grew about 20 miles from Belfast. Now, I tell you that my story, I've heard people share their stories that were success. That's not my story. I believe I was alcoholic from the first drink. I took a drink at 15 years of age up a back alley on a Saturday night. They're passing the bottle around, and it came to my turn to take a drink from the bottle. And I love that book and that movie, A Christmas Carol, because it's such an allegory for life, right? You've got the ghost of the past, the ghost of the present, the ghost of the future. When I was taking that first drink, if the ghost of my alcoholic future had tapped me on the shoulder and said, I want to show you where you're going to be in 15 years. You're going to be in a place where you're drinking against your own will. You're going to be in a place where you pushed away everybody who loved you. You're going to be in a place where quicksand is stretched around you in all directions. You're going to be last, least, and lost. That's where you're going to be in 15 years. I just say a year out of your mind. But my goodness, that's what alcoholism did to me and then some. I wouldn't let another man come close to doing to me what I allowed alcoholism to do to me. I mean, I'm not a violent man. I only ever had one bar fight, and that was a draw. Although most people watching said that she won, another graveyard moment. But you think about it. If you're new here today, I don't want to make this a Q&A, but just think to yourself, when I look back at the last year of my drinking, the price that my disease didn't ask, demanded that I pay for a drink. A shiver runs down my spine. And A has a lot of paradoxes. You surrender to win, you give it away to keep it. One of the big ones is alcohol demanded I give up everything for one thing. A says just give up one thing and you get everything. And that's been true. So I started drinking, and I live by the ocean, and they always tell the kids, never turn your back on the ocean because of like a rogue wave. Alcoholism just engulfed me like a rogue wave. Within 6 months, I'm getting my stomach pumped out on a school night. The guys know this is during the Troubles. 10 o'clock at night, I hadn't come home. My parents are wandering the streets. I don't know what's happened to me. We had like a low-level civil war going on. And my mother says, I saw this figure getting up and falling. They brought me to hospital. I almost died of alcoholic poisoning. I was 16 years of age. I didn't even tap the brakes. See, that's the problem. It took me to get to Alcoholics Anonymous before someone connected the dots for me. It wasn't because of where I grew up that I drank, or where I didn't grow up, or what happened to me, or what didn't happen to me. I drank alcoholically because for a long period of my life, alcohol was a suitable treatment for alcoholism. It filled in the holes. It took off the rough edges. But then, like Bill Wilson says, it boomeranged on me and cut me to ribbons. My life fell apart very quickly. It's no coincidence I'm sitting in America with an Irish accent. I was a runner, a long-distance runner, always looking for an outside fix for an inside job. I'm blaming Northern Ireland. I'll go to America. It'll be different. Yeah, it was different. It was worse. Just like Bill Wilson says, coming to New York was like going down a ski jump. Within 5 years, I hit my first hospital here in New York. I've experienced it before. My drinking. I was a weekend drinker, a daily drinker, a morning drinker. I came to New York. I got a job as a bartender. Now I hold the distinct title of being the worst bartender in the worst bar in Rockaway Beach. I mean, there was some stiff competition, but I held them all. I mean, I'm always embarrassed to say this. I used to work from 6 at night to 4 in the morning. I worked in a job where I could walk behind the bar at 6 o'clock at night and pour myself the first drink. At the end of my drinking, I couldn't even get to that job. What's the old saying in AA? Booze give me the wings to fly, and then it took away the sky. The herbaceous creditor. Start hitting hospitals at 25, but I couldn't stop drinking. I could stop, but I couldn't stay stopped. You know what AA has given me that I can never repay them for? They've given me something between me and the first drink. Before I came to AA, the thought of a drink would become an obsession to drink, and I would always drink. Sitting here today, I don't know about tomorrow, but sitting here today, because of AA and use good people, I am 12 steps away from a drink today. And that's a long way from when I first walked in here. But don't get me wrong, they're not 12 steps up to anything. They're 12 steps down to humility. I seen people drink again in AA that I thought would never drink again, and it could be me. I get a reprieve, not a lifetime pardon, a daily reprieve. The day that I wake up and think I'm staying sober is the day I'm getting ready to get drunk again. And my life's falling apart. I'm in and out of hospitals, convulsions and seizures, and locked up for drink and strapped down for drink. I love when someone's telling their story and it goes down and it goes down and it goes down. And then they say the most beautiful words in an AA talk. And then. When I hear an alcoholic say, and then, I sit up because I know their higher power is coming in the next sentence. There's not a person in here today with a day or more that hasn't had an and then moment. I'm on this drunk, barroom drinking to memory. To use a line from The Godfather, I go to the mattresses. I just lock myself in the apartment, close the blinds, take the phone off the hook, and drink for unconscious time. What does Bill say? 2 bottles in oblivion. I get that. And I'm sitting there with a hot August morning. I'm AWOL from work. I'm drinking out of a bottle of vodka and the tears are rolling down my face. I look out the window and I can see the Atlantic Ocean. And I think of my mother and father 3,000 miles on the other side of that ocean. And I think to myself, I'll never see them again. And I thought to myself, what the hell happened to me? What happened to that 15-year-old kid or 14-year-old kid that thought he was going to be the next George Best? What the hell happened? I'll tell you what happened. Alcoholism happened. That's what happened. And I'm sitting there. And I look and I see this, someone had put a piece of paper under my door, my apartment door. And I looked at this piece of paper and it said what I've been hearing since I was 15 back in Northern Ireland. You're a nice guy, but you drink too much. I had a man's telephone number on it. That's strange enough. A piece of paper come to your door. The stranger thing is I called the number because I'm Irish. I'm stoic. I'm a wall builder. I'm a secret keeper. Against my personality, I called that number and a wonderful lady from Al-Anon answered the phone and she says, Jerry, to her husband, I think it's that Irish guy. A lot of people from the Bronx would take bungalows in Rockaway for the summer. And he was from the old South Bronx group. And that group had a mantra, we don't give up on anybody. What a great mantra for a home group. And he asked me where I was. I said, I'm in apartment 1A, 7800 Shore Farm Parkway. He says, me and another member is coming over to your apartment. Hang in there. And I said to him, I can't stop drinking. And he said, not a funny thing, he said, just say a prayer, we're on our way. And I sat down at the table. And I'm sitting there at this table. I didn't go to Skid Row, but I brought Skid Row to me. You know how we live, bottles all over the place. And I'm sitting at the table, totally alone. And I hear this voice, and it wasn't my voice, as clear as day. And it said, Paul, it's the booze. It's always been the booze. It's clear. And then I had this other thought, what do you got down? What do you got to lose? And I slipped onto the floor on my hands and knees. And I said the alcoholic prayer, which I've heard repeated at meetings many times. It was a hot August morning, but it was a crayon in the dark. And I said the alcoholic prayer. I hadn't got on my knees in probably 20 years. Because I grew up in Northern Ireland. People killed each other for religion. Me and God were not on good terms. And I cried out into the darkness, even though it was a hot August morning. I said, if there's anything out there, please help me. And I felt like someone walked up behind me and took a great lift. My shoulders went up. I felt a sense of peace. And not 2 minutes later, my door knocked, and those two men walked in. And they sat down. Now, I thought they were going to come to my apartment and talk to me about my drinking. Because back in August of 92, there was a lot of, maybe you've had these conversations yourself. Hey, Paul, we need to talk about your drinking. You know what you did last night? You know what you did last week? And I'd sit there like the dog in the window. Oh, you're right. Yeah, oh, yeah. And as people are talking to me, I'm thinking I wish to go away so I could go back drinking again. But these two men came in and they sat down. And here's the difference. This is why AA works. They didn't talk about my drinking. They talked about their drinking. And they told story after story of their drinking. And what's our most prized possession in AA? Identification. They talked about them and I found out about me. It was like that classic scene of Man in the Bed. I'm sitting there. It makes perfect sense to me now that God in his wisdom would use alcoholics to get alcoholics sober. Because I listen to nobody. Friends, family, loved ones, soccer coaches, in one ear and out the other ear. But I listen with you. Because you're my people. When you talk about you, I find out about me. That's how this thing works. I was friendly with Bill one. I knew Bill B. He's the guy that wrote the screenplay. My name is Bill W. And When Love Is Not Enough. And he used to go up to Stepping Stones and he would interview Lois when he was getting ready to write her biography. And she was telling stories about early AA and he would run the tape recorder. And then she was talking about Bill's drinking. And she said, it's funny, Bill. It's like when love is not enough. And he said they just looked at each other across the table and he stopped the tape recorder and he said, that has to be the title of the book. And that's true. If love could have got me sober, I'd have been sober a long time before AA. But it was two men armed with the facts about themselves from the South Bronx group. One guy was a subway conductor. The other guy was a commercial removals man in Manhattan. And I'm sitting there. I told these two men something I hadn't even told myself. I coughed up the big fireball and I said to these two men who had won my confidence, I said, I can't stop drinking. I can't. The last time they put me in a hospital for drinking, I was in a seizure so bad that they put me in a restraining sheet. I was drinking the first day I got out of the hospital. What's wrong with me? And Jerry put his arm around me. I could cry thinking about it now. He's long gone. And he said the most beautiful words an alcoholic can hear. He said, help is on the way. If you're new here today and you have found AA or AA has found you, it doesn't really matter. Let me tell you, and this is not some sales pitch, this is from the bottom of my heart. Help is on the way. You don't have to live one more day than the way you've been living now that you have found Alcoholics Anonymous or Alcoholics Anonymous has found you. Little day will be my sobriety date. And I told the two guys, I said, listen, I got to tell you something. I told them what happened earlier on about getting on my knees. And Jerry said, you had a spiritual experience. It'll get you sober, but it won't keep you sober. We got to get you to AA. And about 36 hours later, I was well enough to get put in the car and got brought to my first meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous at the Fort Tilden group in Rockaway Beach, New York City. It was a New York City open meeting, 2 speakers and a leader, as we have here in New York City. I don't know who spoke. I don't know what they said. I don't know what you said, but I remember how you made me feel. You made me feel welcomed. I went back to that meeting a week later, the following Saturday night, and this guy came up to me. I didn't remember meeting him the week before, and he says to me, Paul, right? You were here last week at your first meeting. I said, yes. He says, you've got a week now. You're 7 days sober. Congratulations. Good for you. I almost broke down and cried. This guy remembered my name. He remembered that I was sober a week and came over and put his hand out to me. Thank God for the people that stood at the door. And that's all Alcoholics Anonymous have ever asked me to do. They didn't say, Paul, can you find a cure for cancer? Can you be the first guy? Just can you stand at the door? Can you freely give what was freely given to you? And that's what I try to do. Do I do it perfectly? Absolutely not. But in trying to do that, in my own little broken way at times, I've been so grossly overpaid. It's embarrassing. And got paid of things of real value. The Irish writer Oscar Wilde said he knew the price of everything and the value of nothing. These people have shown me what real value is. The friendships. I have people on here that I know that I could call at 4 o'clock in the morning and they'll pick up the phone. The people. The people? What's why I continue to come there? There's an old joke in there. You know what's going on in this Zoom room later on today? Nothing. But there's something going on here now. And it's not because I'm here. I bring my little bit. You bring your little bit. We all bring our worth and value to AA. It's like the John Candy line. The rising tide lifts all boats. And everyone's got, I should tell you, I know a few minutes later, I'll tell you a story. There's a meeting here in New York City over in Brooklyn, the Hilltop Group. And they're open meetings also on a Saturday night. And there was one night, about 20 minutes into the meeting, in comes this woman. And it's obvious she's been drinking. And the meeting took a little pause. And someone went over to her and said, you're more than welcome to be here. Here's a half cup of coffee. Just sit here, try to listen as best you can with the speaker, and some of the ladies will talk to you after the meeting. And the meeting starts up again. The door, 20 minutes goes by. What's the old saying? Is it order? Is it God? The door opens again, and then comes this man. And it's obvious that he's been drinking. And he happens to sit right across from this woman. Now, she's sober 20 minutes. She gets out of her seat and goes and gets him a half cup of coffee and says to him, if you just sit and try to listen to the speaker, someone's going to talk to us after the meeting. My God, if that is not the personification of AA, I don't know what is. The one that's blind helping one that's she's 20 minutes sober. And her experience, strength, and hope is, here's a half cup of coffee and someone's going to talk to you after the meeting. And that's what she shared. And if you're new here today, that's what we do. Don't think you've got to meet AA. AA will meet you exactly where you are today. Thank you so much. I see that. And I've dropped the ball many times in AA. I would like to tell you, I come in there and I grabbed the ball and ran like last night the full length of the field and scored a touchdown. I came in here with old ideas. I came in here with a lot of barroom mentality. And it didn't go away overnight. The steps seemed. I looked at the steps, I just looked at them as information. I realized today that they're not informative, they're transformative. I spent a lot of pain and misery in AA. I was like the A. Heisman Trophy with the big book under my arm, keeping everybody away. Thankfully, I bottomed out in AA with no drink and no program and was willing to ask another man for help. And my sponsor said to me, Paul, you've been tiptoeing around this program, doing it your way. If you don't get into this program, yes, you're not drinking, but this is not about not drinking. This is about living sober. This is not about giving up. This is about letting go. You got to get into these steps. I was dragging bags of garbage around in AA. He said, if you don't get into this program and get free from the one guy you never got free from, which is you, and live where you never lived here now, your life's going to go on lived in AA, and that's on you. Thankfully, I took his advice and got into the steps of AA. George Eliot, the writer, says, it's never too late to live the life you're meant to live. And that's been my experience in AA. What a life. Hasn't been all, yeah, there's tough times. If you're new here today, the roller coaster of AA goes up and it goes down. Just don't get off. Stay on and ride it out. I know we throw the word miracle around a lot in AA, but I don't think it's ubiquitous. What is a miracle? The definition I like is a complete reversal or upheaval of the laws of nature. It's in my nature on this Monday afternoon to be drunk somewhere, and I'm not. I'm safe and I'm sane and I'm sober. Why? Because of Alcoholics Anonymous. And I used to think God was sitting off in the clouds somewhere, picking winners and losers in AA. Oh, I like this guy. I'll let him get sober. Oh, Paul McQ. Yeah, I'm not too crazy about him now. That's the higher power that I've come to know and love in AA. If you're new here today, there's a miracle with your name on it. Nobody can take it for you or from you. Come into AA and start to live the life you're always meant to live before drink took you down a different road. There's a story, and some people would say it's a religious story, but it's really a spiritual story. And it's the story of the prodigal son. We're all prodigal sons and daughters here today. I know how the story goes. The guy gets his inheritance and he goes off and he burns his life to the ground. And then he decides to go back home, and his father thought he was dead. And he throws a big party for his son. I read that story many times. Someone pointed out to me, it says the son comes up to the house. It never actually says if he goes in. Don't do what I did. If you're here today, you've been called to the banquet. Don't do what I did and stand looking through the window or stand in the corner getting crumbs from the table. Pull up a chair. You've been called to the banquet and partake of everything that's an offer. The God of AA is a God of abundance. Now, your abundance might be different than mine, but when I'm standing outside looking through the window, nothing can happen. Mother Teresa said that even God can't fill a cup that's already full. Come in, empty yourself of all the stuff that's been driving you who knows where, and partake of the good stuff at the banquet of AA has an offer every day, all day. I love being sober. I hope you do too. I fell in love with AA at my first meeting. I hope that can be your experience too. Because it's hard for me to serve something I don't love. And I love AA. I love serving AA. I love the people. I love everything. What I was looking for in a bottle of booze, I found here and then some. Thank you so much for letting me share.